If you are someone who uses Excel just enough to get the job done, then this video is for you. Because in this video, I'm going to show you 10 practical Excel tips that anyone can master. No complicated formulas or syntax, simple and straightforward tips, but these will make your life easier, and at the same time, you will feel more confident when working on spreadsheets and analyzing data. And these tips are not in a particular order, so just watch the video till the end and become a confident Excel user. So without further ado, let's get started. Here I have a large data. As you can see, it has about 600 lines. So in this data, let us assume that you want to move this column from this position to the rightmost position. To do that, you select the column, press the shift key and hover over the side of the column until you see these 4 arrows. Then you click the left mouse button and move towards the position where you want to put this column. You will see this green line appearing, and when you reach at the position where you want to place the column, simply release both buttons, shift and the mouse, and the column will be moved. Similarly, you can move any row. Select the row, press the shift key, and when you see these 4 arrows, press the left mouse button and now keep dragging. So I want to place just after row 16, and I release both buttons and the row will be moved. Now let us say that you are in the first row and you want to go to the bottom row of the data. To reach at the bottom row, you press Ctrl and down arrow. And now as you can see that I am at the last row of my data set, and Ctrl up arrow will take me back. Ctrl right arrow will move to the last column, and Ctrl left arrow will move to the first column. So let us say I want to select these 2 cells from this position, row number 5, to the last row. So one way is that I just select like this, but if the data, for example, has 2000 rows, it will be difficult to scroll down. The easiest way is you highlight these 2 cells and press Ctrl, Shift and down arrow, 3 keys. And as you can see that all the data below that position has been selected. And now if you want to include more columns, press Shift right arrow and it will add more columns from the same position. So this is helpful when you don't want to select all the data but a part of the data. In particular, when the data set is large, this tip will help you. Now, next tip is so important that it will almost every day help you, and this is about resizing the columns to the minimum width required and giving all the rows a particular height. As you can see that this column is too wide for this data. If I want this column to have the minimum required width, I select this column, and on the right hand side when I hover and I see these 2 arrows, I double click. Now this column has the minimum required width. Similarly, I can select all the columns, and then in any column, when I see these 2 arrows, I can double click and all the columns now have the minimum required width, no extra width. Now, while this data is selected, I can change the row height of all the rows by pressing 4 keys. And you don't have to hold these 4 keys. You can press one by one. So first press Alt key, then H, then O, then H. And it will show you this prompt, what row height you want. I want, for example, 30. I can type 30 and press OK. And all rows now have the height of 30. Now, if you have a large data and there is a header at the top, if I scroll down, my header is gone. And now I don't know what this value is all about. So sometimes I want to freeze this top row so that when I scroll down, this row always will stay at this position. To do that, you can press 4 keys and you don't have to hold Alt WFR. Now your top row is freezed, and if I go down, as you can see that my top row is still there. And if you want to unfreeze, you should be in the View tab, and in Freeze Panes, you just click Unfreeze Panes, and now it will be unfreezed. And you can also freeze using this tab, View, Freeze Panes, Freeze Top Row. In certain types of data, you don't need any numbering on the left column. But in some tables like this, you might want to put numbering. So there are many ways to put numbering, and I have made a separate video covering all those. But my favorite is that you put the cursor from where you want to start the numbering and put the first number there. Then go to the row below that and type very simple is equal to, then select this cell and it will automatically put A5, or you can type A5 and +1. and enter. So it will add 1 to this number. So it will be number 2. And then you drag this to the last row of your data. So this is my favorite way to put numbers. May not be the best, and you can watch my other video for all other methods. But in most cases for new users, this method is the easiest. Now this tip is very special, and even some experienced Excel users don't know this. Normally, if I am in this cell E10 and I write any value and press enter, the cursor moves to the cell below that cell. But what if I want to move from this to this cell? Let us say I want to move in horizontal direction. So what I do is I select these 4 cells and I press tab. So as you can see that if I keep pressing tab, it will show me where my cursor is, and the cursor is moving in a horizontal manner. So now I am in the C7 cell. If I change this value, let's say 5000, press enter, the cursor will move to the next column instead of next row. And now I can change this value, press enter, change the next value, press enter, and so on. And this can be used for any pattern. Let's say I have to select various cells where I want to change the data. So I select these 2, I press Ctrl, then I select these 2. While still pressing the Ctrl, I select these 3. So I press tab again and keep pressing tabs. It will show me where my cursor is, and let's say I change this value and press enter, it will go to the next one which I have selected. I change the value, press enter, and see, it has moved to this selection. I can change this value, keep pressing enter, and it will go to the next selection, and so on. So this works for any type of selection. Next tip is about how to remove duplicate values. If I have a very small table, I can quickly see that there are 3 duplicate values. But imagine if your data has 1000 rows and somebody has messed with the data and have placed some duplicate values. It will be very hard to find and remove the duplicate values. But in Excel, we have a feature which can remove all the duplicate values. And I highlighted these values just to show you that there are some duplicate values. You don't have to do that. I can in fact remove this highlighting. And to remove the duplicate values, I will select this data and I click on this data tab, and there is a button here, remove duplicates. And it will show me all the columns based on which I can remove the duplicate values, and I want to use only names and marks because I know that there is no duplicate value in the numbering column. So if I click OK, it will show me that there are 3 duplicate values found and 9 unique values. If I click OK, it will remove all the duplicate values, and as you can see that now we have 9 values instead of 12. Our next tip is about the status bar. So if I select this data, at the bottom of my workbook, you can see this status bar. It is showing me that there are 70 values. The sum of the values is this. But if I want to see the maximum of these selected values, or the sum of these values, or the minimum value of these values, there are certain things I can see on the status bar. If I right click on this, I have few more options. For example, I can check this minimum, maximum, and average is already selected. And now on my status bar, I have the minimum of all the selected values, the maximum, the total, and the average value. And if I change my selection, the values will change at the status bar. So you can quickly check average, minimum, maximum, and total of any selected data at the status bar. Very useful. Now the last 2 tips are a bit advanced, but not complicated, nothing to memorize. If I select this data, a small icon appears at the lower right corner. This is called quick analysis. If I click on that, there are certain things I can quickly see about this data. There are certain things I can do about this data. For example, if I click on this data bars, it will show me these data bars for the values. So the smaller the value, the smaller is the bar. The larger the value, the larger is the bar. So let's clear format by clicking on this. And if I click on select color, now the color will be changed based on the smaller the value, the darker darker red, the bigger the value, the darker green. If I click on icon set, I can put these arrows. Similarly, I can check for greater than any value. If I click on greater than and type any value here, for example 20,000, and click OK, it will show me all the values greater than 20,000. So this quick analysis icon is very useful for quickly looking at the data. Now this tip is a little bit advanced than the quick analysis. You can convert your data to a table in Excel. If I select this data and I press Ctrl T, it will show me this dialog box that from B5 to F18, Excel is going to create a table. If your data has a header, like my data at the moment, the first row is a header. So you must select this button, my table has headers, and click OK. Now my data has been converted to a table. So what's the benefit? The benefit is that now you can see these little arrows at the top. And if you click on that, I have access to certain filters. I can quickly filter out my data. So let's say I want to select this column from smallest to largest, and as you can see that this is the smallest value and this is the largest now. And if I click on number filters, there are many filters I can use with this data, and this is all because I have converted this data to a table. So very good analysis tool. If you don't like this, you can click Ctrl Z to go back to range, because this format is table, the previous format was range. But if you have made changes to your table, for example, you have added few rows and you want to go back to normal range format, then you should be anywhere within the table. This table design tab will appear. If you are outside the table, you will not see this tab. So if you are inside the table, you click on this table design, and on the left hand side you have this convert to range. You click on that. It will ask you, do you want to convert the table to a normal range? You click yes, and now this is a normal range. But still the formatting is like table. Some Excel users just want to use this formatting but not the tables. So they create a table, then go back to range, and they get the formatting. Because as you can see that it is easy to see if you are making a presentation. But if you want to get rid of all this, then you select all this, and in the home tab you click on this clear and clear formats, and it will clear all the formatting. If you want to change the fill color of the header, you can do it again as previously. Otherwise the formatting is gone. So I hope you like these tips. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and see you next time.